Everyone, in the last video we saw about our first defining characteristic of living, that was metabolism. Now let us come on to the next characteristic of living, that is what is called as cellular organization. Okay, that is what is called as the cellular organization. Okay, cellular organization. Now, what do you mean by cellular organization? Cellular organization means all the living beings, they are at least made up of a cell. They are at least made up of a cell, or they are made up of things which are made by organization of cells at various level. This is what is called as cellular organization. Now there is a small anomaly in your NCERT. आप जाकर के पढ़िएगा, you will see that जहाँ से आपका मेटाबॉलिज्म स्टार्ट किया है वहाँ मेटाबॉलिज्म के बारे में तो बताया है, बट एट द एंड है ना वहाँ पे लिख दिया हेंस सेल्युलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज द डिफाइनिंग फीचर ऑफ लाइफ फॉर्म्स, है ना. तो डिस्कस किया है मेटाबॉलिज्म के बारे में, लिख दिया है हेंस सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, है ना. आई थिंक दिस इज सम मिसप्रिंट इन एनसीईआरटी. इसको लिखना था यहाँ पे सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के बारे में भी, बट वो पैराग्राफ शायद गलती से ओमिट हो गया या समथिंग लाइक दैट. दिस इज व्हाट आई थिंक, है ना. सो द फर्स्ट डिफाइनिंग फीचर विच वी स्टडीड अबाउट द लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म was metabolism. All right, and the next defining feature is your cellular organization. Can you say that there is any one organism also which is not made up of cell? No, है ना. Without any exception, all the living things in this world is at least made up of a cell, and the ones which do not possess a cell, they are not termed as living things, है ना. What is the most good example of this? That is virus, है ना. Virus क्या है? Virus is not a cell. Okay, virus is just the genetic material enclosed by a protein coat. That does not mean that that is not a cell, and that is why virus is not a living thing, है ना. तो ऐसा क्या होता है वायरस में? बाप बोलिएगा मैम वायरस इज नॉट लिविंग, तो कोविड का इन्फेक्शन हम लोग को कैसे हो रहा है? Infection can only be caused by living things in us, right? So what happens is when this virus gains access into your bodies, when this virus get access into your cells, this captures your cell, है ना. आपके बॉडी के पास सेल है ना. ये वायरस आपके सेल में घुसेगा एंड दिस वायरस विल कैप्चर योर सेल एंड दिस वायरस विल डायरेक्ट योर सेल सच दैट द सेल ऑफ योर बॉडी इज द सेल ऑफ द वायरस, है ना. So now that virus was not having its own cell, now it has captured your cell, now it has also got a machinery of the cell. Can now virus be regarded as living? Yes, है ना. तो याद रखना, till viruses are outside the body of living, they are non-living, but as soon as they gain entry in the body or cell of living, they can be regarded as living, है ना. That is why they can cause infections. तो याद रखना, cellular organization मतलब कि है ना, any living organism in this world is at least made up of one cell, है ना. That is why we define the cell as basic structural and functional unit of an organism, है ना. basic structural क्यों? Because this is the basis of structure, है ना. उससे नीचे अगर कुछ भी होगा तो that will not be a living organism. That is why your cell is the basic structural unit of any living organism. Why the basic functional units? Because all the functions, unicellular ऑर्गेनिज्म बराबर एक ऑर्गेनिज्म है ना. तो जितना भी लाइफ फंक्शंस नेसेसरी है उस सेल के सर्वाइव करने के लिए, नेसेसरी है फॉर the organism to survive, it can happen in the cell. That is why the cell is known as the basic structural and functional unit of a living organism, है ना. functional क्यों? Because all the functions which happen in an organism which is बराबर a unicellular organism, है ना, that can happen in its cell. So that is why your cell is the basic structural and functional unit of an organism. Now what is cellular organization? What are the different levels of cellular organizations which we know of? So let us write down the level of cellular organization which you can also regard that as hierarchy. अभी hierarchy के ऊपर हम फिर आएंगे. What is the meaning of hierarchy? Hierarchy means arranging something अरेंजिंग समथिंग ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इट्स लेवल, दैट इज नोन एज हायरार्की, है ना. इंक्रीजिंग और डिक्रीजिंग स्टेटस, दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज हायरार्की. तो सबसे छोटा सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, सबसे छोटा यूनिट क्या हो सकता है सेल का? सिर्फ एक सेल, खुद एक सेल, है ना. सो द लोएस्ट यूनिट इन योर सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज सेल. द लोएस्ट यूनिट इज योर सेल. ठीक है. अब बहुत सारे सेल्स दे विल एसोसिएट एंड फॉर्म टिश्यूज. दे विल एसोसिएट एंड दे विल फॉर्म टिश्यूज, है ना. उसके बाद टिश्यूज विल एसोसिएट एंड दे विल फॉर्म एन ऑर्गन, है ना. एंड फाइनली मेनी ऑर्गन्स विल फॉर्म ऑर्गन सिस्टम. ठीक है. एंड देन फाइनली डिफरेंट ऑर्गन सिस्टम. यहाँ जगह नहीं है इसलिए ऐसे लिख रहा है, आप अपने कॉपी में ऐसे ही लिख लीजिएगा ना. याद रखना, व्हेन वी रिप्रेजेंट समथिंग इन इट्स हायरार्किकल ऑर्डर वी ऑलवेज ट्राई टू लोवेस्ट लेवल एट द बॉटम पॉइंट, है ना. इसलिए मैंने ऐसे लिखा है, सेल को सबसे नीचे लिखा और सबसे जो हाईएस्ट पॉइंट है उसको सबसे ऊपर लिखा, है ना. सो ऑर्गन सिस्टम फाइनली मिलकर के क्या बनाता है? इट फॉर्म्स द ऑर्गेनिजम्स. ओके, इट फॉर्म्स द ऑर्गेनिजम्स. ठीक है. सो लेट अस टेक एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ ईच ऑफ दिस, है ना. सेल का एग्जाम्पल हम ले लेते हैं. एक हेपाटोसाइट. व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ अ हेपाटोसाइट? हेपाटोसाइट मीन्स लिवर सेल, है ना. हेपाटो मतलब लिवर एंड साइट मतलब सेल. साइट कम्स फ्रॉम द वर्ड साइटॉन. साइटॉन मीन्स सेल. ओके, साइटॉन मीन्स सेल. सो सेल आपका हो गया हेपाटोसाइट. ठीक है. हेपाटो मीन्स लिवर एंड साइट मीन्स सेल. टिश्यू में क्या आ जाएगा? वेरियस हेपाटोसाइट्स दे विल ऑर्गेनाइज एंड दे विल फॉर्म लिवर टिश्यू. ठीक है. सो इजी. ऑर्गन क्या हो जाएगा आपका? लिवर हो जाएगा. लिवर ऑर्गन हो गया. किस ऑर्गन सिस्टम का पार्ट है? दैट इज द पार्ट ऑफ डाइजेस्टिव सिस्टम. डाइजेस्टिव सिस्टम, है ना. यू नो दैट लिवर इज द पार्ट ऑफ डाइजेस्टिव सिस्टम, राइट? ठीक है. दैट इज योर ऑर्गन सिस्टम. एंड व्हाट ऑर्गेनिज्म डज इट फॉर्म? व्हाट आर द वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ ऑर्गन सिस्टम विच यू फाइंड इन एन ऑर्गेनिज्म? दैट इज योर human, है ना. What are the various organ systems in humans? Respiratory system, digestive system, excretory system, skeletal system, circulatory system, etc. है ना. So what is the organism which is formed here? That is human, है ना. तो याद रखना, ह्यूमन इज एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ मल्टी सेलुलर ऑर्गेनिजम्स एंड मेनी ऑर्गेनिजम्स आर ऑर्गेनाइज्ड एट वेरियस लेवल. इट मे बी टिश्यू लेवल, इट मे बी अ सेल लेवल, ऑर्गन सिस्टम लेवल्स, एंड दे फॉर्म वेरियस ऑर्गेनिजम्स. ओके. सो नाउ टेल मी, कैन cellular organization be taken as the defining feature of living organisms? Yes, it can be. Okay. So what is the difference, है ना. आपके सामने एक wood रखा हुआ है ना. The pencil which you may be using is made up of wood. Now tell me, wood comes from tree. Okay. Tree is a living, non-living? It is a living thing. Okay. But is that pencil living? It is dead, है ना. So what is the difference between the tree which is living and your pencil which is non-living? That is metabolism. All right. So all the organisms, they are made up of cell, है ना. They have got the basic cellular organization in them. But what is the difference between a living organism and a dead organism? That is metabolism. So what are the two defining features which we studied about living things? First is cellular organization. And why do I put cellular organization first? Because there is a condition to it, है ना. कि सेल से तो बना होगा बट उसमें मेटाबॉलिज्म होना चाहिए, तभी हम उसको लिविंग बोलेंगे. ओके. सो द टू कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स आर, फर्स्ट इज सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड द अदर वन इज मेटाबॉलिज्म. Now let us study about the third characteristic of living, that is your consciousness, है ना. सो थोड़ा सा पहले इसको देख लेते हैं सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को. ओके. सो दिस इज द हायरार्की ऑफ सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. लुक एट दिस, है ना. देखो यहाँ पे बहुत अच्छे से बताया. दिस इज अ प्लांट सेल, है ना. प्लांट सेल से आपका क्या बना, लीफ का टिश्यू बना, लीफ का टिश्यू से लीफ इज द ऑर्गन ऑफ अ प्लांट, ऑर्गन बना, एंड फाइनली ऑर्गन सिस्टम बना, एंड दैट फॉर्म्स द होल ऑर्गेनिज्म, दैट इज द प्लांट, है ना. लेट अस कम ऑन टू दिस. यहाँ पे एक मसल टिश्यू डिनोट किया है, दिस इज अ मसल सेल ऑफ योर बॉडी, दिस मसल सेल फॉर्म्स द मसल टिश्यू, है ना. ये मसल टिश्यू मिल करके आपका हार्ट बनाए. यू मस्ट नो दैट हार्ट इज मेड अप ऑफ मसल्स, है ना. व्हाट टाइप ऑफ मसल्स इज दैट, they are called as cardiac muscles. Okay, they are called as cardiac muscles. So this है ना, it forms the cardiac muscle, है ना. so this organ is heart. फिर finally आपका organ system, यहाँ पे एक organism छोड़ दिया है ना. so फिर आपका organ system बनाएगा. what organ system does heart belong to? hearts belong to the circulatory system, right. and फिर finally बहुत सारा system है ना, digestive system, circulatory system, nervous system, they will combine and form the new form the whole organism, that is your human. okay, so this is about your सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. दिस इज द पिक्चर ऑफ अ सेल, है ना. सेल के बारे में हम फिर डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे व्हेन वी विल स्टडी अबाउट योर दिस. सेल का एक चैप्टर है ना, यूनिट है पूरा. वी विल स्टडी अबाउट डिटेल अबाउट सेल इन दैट chapter. So the second defining feature of living organism is your cellular organization. So let us start with the next characteristic of living, that is your consciousness. That is your consciousness. Okay, consciousness. Now what is consciousness? What is consciousness? Consciousness means the sense of the environment is what is consciousness. Okay, let us understand it let us start with stimuli first. Stimulus or stimuli. Okay, stimulus or stimuli. What is the meaning of stimulus or stimuli? है ना, क्लास 10th में भी बहुत लोग पढ़े होंगे. व्हाट इज़ द मीनिंग ऑफ स्टिमुलस? एनी एक्सटर्नल चेंज इन योर एनवायरमेंट. व्हाट इज़ द मीनिंग ऑफ एनवायरमेंट? योर इमीडिएट सराउंडिंग इज योर एनवायरमेंट. ओके, सो एनी चेंज, है ना, एनी चेंज इन योर एनवायरमेंट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज अ स्टिमुलस. स्टिमुलस अस जहाँ पे भी आएगा याद रखना, दैट इज सिंगुलर एंड आई मीन्स प्लूरल. ठीक है. So stimulus is any change in your environment which you can sense, which you can detect. And for example, I'm speaking and you're able to listen to that. ठीक है. So my speaking, my voice is your stimulus. My voice is your stimulus. Now you can sense this stimulus. You are able to hear my voice. This hearing is what is consciousness. This hearing is what is कॉन्शियसनेस, है ना. तो याद रखना स्टिमुलस के रेस्पेक्ट में क्या होता है, देयर इज सेंस, है ना. दिस सेंस ऑफ हियरिंग इज व्हाट इज योर ठीक है, सेंस, है ना. दिस सेंस या हियरिंग इज व्हाट इज योर कॉन्शियसनेस. ठीक है, इज कॉन्शियसनेस, है ना. अब इस स्टिमुलस के जब आपने सेंस किया, यू विल रिस्पॉन्ड अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट स्टिमुलस, है ना. लेट अस टेक अनदर एग्जांपल ऑफ अ स्टिमुलस, है ना. लेट अस इमेजिन दैट देयर इज सम हॉट वेसल विच इज kept in front of you. By mistake you touched that hot vessel. What will happen, है ना. You will sense that is very hot, है ना. First of all, that hotness of that thing is stimulus. The temperature of that thing is your stimulus, है ना. When you touched that hot thing, you felt that is very hot, है ना. That is your sense, that is your consciousness. And in response to that, what you will do, you will remove your hand. So in response to the stimulus, which was your hotness, you responded, है ना, by removing your hand. That is your response. So when you sense a stimulus, you respond to it. When you sense a stimulus, you respond to it. ठीक है, रिस्पॉन्स, रिस्पॉन्स लिखो, ठीक है. सो स्टिमुलस, सेंस एंड रिस्पॉन्स. दिस सेंस ऑफ एनीथिंग इज व्हाट इज नोन एज कॉन्शियसनेस. So now let me ask you, do all the living things have consciousness? Is consciousness the defining feature of living organisms? What do you think? Can all the organisms hear? Can all the organisms see? No, yes, what? Okay, so ठीक है. Obviously there are various levels at which an organism can perceive its surroundings. Okay, obviously we as humans are very developed. We have 5 sense of we have 5 sense organs and we can sense various things. But a small organism, let us take an example of a unicellular organism, that amoeba, that also knows when its food is near, है ना. जब उसका खाना उसके पास होगा, it will sense that yes, my food is near, I have to eat it, है ना. So obviously that amoeba is conscious of its surrounding, it's conscious of the stimuli around it, है ना. Obviously that may not be able to see, but it is obviously conscious about the food particle which is present there, ठीक है. So that is what is called as consciousness. And yes, consciousness is something which is present, which is basic in all the living organisms. That is why consciousness is also the characteristic of all the living things. Okay, consciousness is also the characteristics of all the living things. Okay, so there are 3 defining features according to your NCERT. Tell me, what are they? They are cellular organization, metabolism, and finally consciousness. Now there is something which is called as self-consciousness. There is something which is called as self-consciousness. Self-consciousness. Self-consciousness means अपने आप से conscious होना. That is called as self-consciousness. How many of you, before coming to coaching or going to a school or going on a date with your girlfriend, how many of you see your face in the mirror? है ना, everybody does that. So what is that, है ना? That is self-consciousness. How am I looking, है ना, बाल झाड़ रहे, ये कर रहे, I want to wear this dress. So consciousness about self is what is known as self-consciousness. And remember that self-consciousness is a special characteristic of only humans. Of only humans, है ना. Only humans have got self-consciousness. क्या गाय सोचेगी हम इतने मोटे हो गए? That guy will not think, but you will, है ना. Cow, tree, है ना, any animal that will not think that it has gained weight or lost weight. So we humans are the only ones who have self-consciousness. याद रखना, consciousness is present in all living organisms, but self-consciousness is present in humans only. Okay, now there may be 3 types of stimulus. Now let us come on to types of stimulus. Okay, let us come on to types of stimulus. So stimulus can be of 3 types. Physical, chemical, and biological. Physical stimulus is very easy to understand, है ना. You are able to perceive the light, sound, touch, everything, है ना. They all are your examples of physical, है ना, physical stimulus. Now chemical stimulus, है ना. What happens when you smoke? What happens when you drink alcohol? So the response of your body, है ना, the ability of your body to detect the change in chemicals, that is what is known as chemical stimulus. All right, and what is biological stimulus? What happens when you see the love of your life? That affection is what is your biological stimulus. So these are the 3 types of stimulus, okay, which you know of and which are there. And with this we complete our consciousness, है ना. We complete the final defining feature and the final characteristic of living. That is what is called as consciousness. ठीक है. So what are the 3 defining features? एक और बार बोल लेते हैं. The first one is cellular organization, the second one is metabolism, and the third is consciousness. With this we complete our lecture, and from next day we will start on with biodiversity.